Okay, this is the EFI BIOS configuration for my Asus X299 Prime motherboard running the Intel i9 7900X CPU. BIOS version I currently have is version 0702. I believe as of September 20th, the most recent version is 0802. I am sticking with version 0702 because it's working well for me. What we have over here, which is a very important setting, is the XMP profile. This is your RAM and how it's configured. You want to make sure you select XMP here rather than disable. In my case, it's profile 1. Now let's go over to the advanced mode. That's where you want to make all your adjustments. You may want to verify that your hard drives are being seen here. But let's go ahead and go over to advanced mode. And we'll have some menu items up here: main, AI tweak, advanced, monitor, boot, and tool. Tool is where you would go to load your the latest cap file, and the cap file is the BIOS file. If you go into the EasyFlash3 utility, you have a couple of options here. You have via storage devices or via internet. You're going to select via storage devices. The blue indicates that this is selected. Double click on it, doesn't do anything. You have to hit the next button here. So hit next. Now you're not gonna, you may not know what drive is which, unless you happen to know what FS0 and FS1, FS2 and FS3 and all those were set up for. But they should be fairly easy to figure out which is which. Obviously FS0 here, those are the directories on it. That's not my main drive that I don't have my BIOS information on. Now FS1, again, that's not my main drive, so no BIOS information on that. FS2, not sure what that is, but clearly it's not a Windows directory. That's the FS3 is the actual EFI. Then we have FS4. Aha, okay, so now this looks more like my C drive. If we take a look here, you can see documents and settings and all that kind of good stuff. I keep my cap file in a BIOS directory, and this is the BIOS directory here. You can just double click that, and then you can select the cap file that you want. In my case, it would be, actually, I'm going to hit no here because I don't want to read it, but what you want to do here is select your cap file, and then when it prompts to say you want to read the file, you say yes, obviously. And that's how you update the BIOS. Like I said, once the BIOS gets updated, in my particular case, I had to reboot. Well, I rebooted my machine, and my machine wouldn't come back to life. When I say come back to life, it wouldn't boot back up. What I had to do is actually open the box up and click and press on this little red button that says clear CMOS. Click that button, and then the system would boot up and then boot back into the BIOS screen here and make your adjustments. So I'm going to exit from here, since I was just kind of showing you how you can load the BIOS from storage devices, and those storage devices could be USB devices, it could be your hard drives, whatever storage device you have connected to your system. I'm going to say yes, I want to leave because I don't want to do anything here. Okay, so let's go back to main. This is just basically information about your system. Not a heck of a lot you need to do here. Let's go over to AI tweak here. And AI tweak is where you want to set up your settings. Let me see. Yeah, I have the AI overclock tuner set to XMP, which is what I recommend if you're using your XMP profile from your memory. And then you want to set your XMP here to XMP, to whatever the profile is. Yeah, here are the options for XMP, auto, manual. I wouldn't do those, just leave it with XMP. But again, this is very dependent on your memory. So if your memory is up to the task and set and has its XMP profile set correctly, this should work just fine. I'm using the CPU strap of 100. It's just a lot easier to get a good stable overclock with that. Same with the B clock frequency. If you want to bump that up, feel free to bump it up. But 100 usually provides the best or the most stability I've found. Okay, and then these are the rest of the settings here. I'm not going to go over every single setting. I'll just scroll down slowly so you can see. A lot of them are set to auto. Except for these offsets here, I did set those to 1, which I believe is the lowest value you can do. And my core ratio is set up to be by specific core, so each core will have its own ratio. And if I click on this specific core setting over here, it takes a while for it to display. As you can see, I got my first core set to 50, which is basically 5 gigahertz. Core voltage on all of these is going to be set to auto. Core 2 max ratio is 48. Core 3, 48. The ones I have an asterisk next to the core are the ones I've dropped down one ratio. So 4.7 would be 4.7 gigahertz, and then bump this back up to 4.8. And 4.8, and then again, where I see the asterisk next to core 7, I drop this down to 4.7. This was just something I was kind of curious why these cores had an asterisk next to them, and it wasn't really documented anywhere, so I figured, well, possibly when I set up automatic core ratios, it was setting these ones with asterisks to a lower value than the other ones, so I figured Asus or Intel or whatever prefer certain cores to be lower than others for stability reasons. So that's why I've lowered the lowered the ratio on the cores that have an asterisk next to them, and that is core 4, core 7. I think that's it. Alright, so that covers the by specific core setup. So I'll go ahead and scroll down here some more. Your Ddr Ram Frequency, this you'll want to play around with to reach a good stability. For me, 3800 is a good stability. Even though the RAM is rated to 4266, I believe, 3800 gets a very good stability, and performance-wise, there's no real difference I could see in the memory tests I ran, which is the CIF software Sandra memory bandwidth and memory throughput tests. TPU, you want that TPU 2, which I believe is the highest for overclocking, and my assumption here is you have a water-cooled system. If you don't, then you may not want to set this. CPU vid disable. DRAM timing control, I don't actually change anything in there, so we can open it up if you like, but these are all set based on your XMP profile, so I wouldn't recommend changing those. And external digipower control. I believe I had most of these set to auto, with the exception of the thermal control here. That's set to 120 degrees Celsius, which is the default. If you're getting above that, well, you've got problems. The DRAM current capability is at 130%. I can't remember, did I set this? Yeah, I did set this to its max value, I believe. DRAM, it's auto. CPU input voltage, auto. I believe that's it for the external digipower control. Internal CPU power management. Let me see. I don't think I modified anything here. I do have speed step technology enabled. I do have turbo mode enabled. That's important. Yep, that's it for internal CPU power management. Tweaker's Paradise. Let me see. Don't think I had anything set specifically here. Auto enable. Yeah, I left these values pretty much, well, I think at default. Let me just scroll down. Yeah, those are all default. And okay, now we go down to the additional settings, which you may not see in an older BIOS, but in the 0702 you should see this, or the 0802. Where do I go down? Okay, here I set the DRAM voltage. I bumped it up just a little bit to 1.4, which is what the DRAM is specified for. So that should match whatever your DRAM specs are. And that's it. Everything there is auto also. Okay, let me just scroll down a bit. Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's go over to the advanced over here. And we have CPU configuration. That's, again, should just... yeah. Oh, here we go. There are a couple of things you need to set here. CPU configuration. I don't like to hyper-threading myself, so I disable it. What else did I do? Boot performance. Max performance is a setting that works well for me. And then the max CPU core temperature I set to 105. Again, it should never get that close. If it does, if you're getting above 80, you know, you might have issues. Between 80 and 90, you might start getting throttling. Active processor cores. Okay, that's just all enabled. Nothing of particular interest there. And CPU power management configuration. Again, this is enable speed step, turbo mode enabled. These are auto, didn't change those. MSC mode didn't change that, so whatever the default is. And let me see, let's go up. Platform miscellaneous configuration. Yep, all auto there, which is basically everything disabled. System agent, I think everything is whatever the default is in any of this. I just left the defaults. PCH configuration, again, left that as default. PCH storage, let me see. Anything I may have done here, actually I think the AHCI was set up by default, but I just went through each serial ATA port, and it's kind of a bit weird. This is serial ATA G1, so it identified a drive on G1, So you want to have it enabled. Hot plug you should have disabled if these are internal drives. And yeah, I went through anything that didn't have a drive in it attached to it, like empty here for SATAG6G2. I set these to disable. And the reason I did that is because it actually, I believe, frees up some resources. So the less you have enabled here, the better, because it can actually, some of the M2s can conflict or require the serial ATA port, plug to be available and not used. Okay. And let me see, CPU storage configuration. Yeah, I didn't change anything here. I just left it alone. Because I don't, onboard devices, I don't use the onboard audio, so I have that disabled. I believe, yeah, this is all auto. What else did I disable? I disabled the Wi-Fi. Disabled both Wi-Fi controls. I disabled Bluetooth. Again, the idea here is basically disabling everything I'm not using, which frees up resources. Okay, that's that. I don't believe I made any changes here. Nope, that's all default. Network stack configuration, that's all default. HDD, SSD smart information, again, that's all default. USB configuration, I believe I left this as default also. Yeah, I didn't make any changes there either. Thunderbolt configuration is I don't actually have the Thunderbolt device card installed in the system because again I wasn't going to use it, so no point in using resources that I have no need for. And PCH FW configuration, I don't believe I changed anything here. Almost certainly didn't. Yep, that's all default. And I believe that's it for advanced mode. Monitoring, boot, yeah, you set those up to however you want to set those up to, specific to your system. Like I say, the two key items is the advanced and the AI tweaker. And I believe that's it. And once you're done, hit F10 and save everything, and hopefully it boots up to the frequency that you've set it to. And that's it.